Hello and welcome to Impresario, a Colosseum card game. In this game, you will produce the greatest and grandest of spectacles to win the Emperor's favor. But beware, as your rivals will also try their best to snatch the best performers, as they are also vying for the coveted spot alongside the Emperor. Through savvy market manipulation and skillful tableau management, you will build the greatest troupe of performers the world has ever seen, earning you the rightful title of Grand Impresario, spreading the legend of your name throughout time immemorial. Impresario is a game for 2 to 5 players, in which players will take on the role of wealthy Roman entrepreneurs, in which they will seize the opportunity to gather not only the largest ensemble of performers, but also the best and brightest. Players will take turns either adding to the overall market or seizing the available performers while they build their tableau. At the end of the game, players will check the size of each of their columns and score them accordingly. Bigger columns earn more points, while having sequences of performers earns players the star performer tiles, which they will add to the score. The player with the most points wins the game. Give each player a player board. In a 5-player game, you use all the cards. In a 4-player game, remove all the cards showing 19, 20. In a 3-player game, also remove the cards showing 17, 18. In a 2-player game, also remove the cards showing 15, 16. After setting up the deck, you shuffle the deck and then you lay out a number of Accolade tokens equal to the amount of players that are currently in the game. I've set up the game for 4 players, so we place 4 Accolade tokens on a row such that there is enough space to add 6 cards. We then draw 2 cards to each row and flip them face up. We also place the star performer tiles nearby. We then choose the first player at random or by any method you prefer. You are now ready to start playing Impresario. On your turn, you can do one of 2 different things. You can either take the top card from the deck and place it onto any of the 4 rows, or you can take one of the rows of cards and add it to your tableau. To add a card to the market, you simply take the top card from the deck and place it onto any available row that exists. There are 2 exceptions to this. The first one is if a row already has 6 cards, you cannot add more cards to it. So this row cannot be added cards to. The second exception is if all rows have already 6 cards. In that case, you have to take one of the rows and place it into your tableau. In this case, I drew a 15-16 performer, a comedian. I can decide to place it here, here, or here. As there's already a 12 comedian over there, I think it would be better if I place it here to avoid having players 2 cards of the same type. There are 7 different types of cards in the game. We have charioteers, comedians, gladiators, lions, musicians, shipmasters, and ballatros. Each of the 6 starting types of cards can only be placed either on their respective column on the player board or on the Emperor's column. The Emperor's column allows players to place up to 1 of each type of card, meaning I could place the gladiator here and then I could place the charioteer next. That is allowed. Some cards, specifically the cards with value 13 or higher, are double. What that means is that for the final scoring, they will be worth as if they were 2 cards. They are also considered to be 2 cards for getting star performers, which I will cover next. Balatros are jacks of all trades. They do not have a color, so they can be placed on any of the columns in your player board. However, because they are value 0, they have to be played relatively early in a column. When you get 3 cards in a straight sequence of the same type into your tableau, you can claim the corresponding star performer. In this case, the player on the right managed to have a sequence of 3, 4, and 5 gladiators. Therefore, they can claim the corresponding star performer. However, a player that manages to have a higher sequence of cards than the player currently having the star performer can take the star performer from that player. In this example, the left player will manage to get a sequence of 4 cards. Because he has 9, 10, 11, and 12, he manages to take the star performer from the right player. The left player can also try to get the star performer from the left if they also manage an even higher sequence. In this case, by drawing 6 and 7, they manage a sequence of 5 cards all in a straight, which means the performer goes to the right. The left player can also try, and succeed, to get an even higher sequence of cards. In this case, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you manage to have a sequence of 6 or more cards of the same type, you flip over the tile. At the end of the game, the star performer will be worth 10 points instead of 5. I've set up a game state that will allow me to explain mostly everything that you can do in your turn. It is currently Laura's turn. Laura can either add a card to either the top or the bottom row, or she can take any one of the 4 available rows of cards. She decides to take the second row, which means she takes all of the cards and the Aquila token. The Aquila token is a reminder that she no longer plays in this round. When you add cards to your tableau, you either add the card you want to the corresponding column, so lions go into the lion column, or they can go into the Empress column, which can take up to 1 card of each color. When you add cards to a column, the card you add has to be higher than the value of the bottommost card in the column. So in this case, I am unable to place the 12 musician on the musician column because the highest card is a 13-14. Laura will therefore start by doing this. She is going to place the 12 shipmaster card onto its column. She's going to place the Balatro, which is value 0 and can be placed on any column, on the gladiators column. She is then going to place the gladiator on the gladiator column below the Balatro card, and then she is going to place the lion, the comedian, and the musician all in order in the Empress column, thus ending Laura's turn. It's now Becky's turn to play, and much the same as Laura, she can draw a card from the deck to add to the top or the bottom row, or she can take any one of the 3 remaining rows of cards. She decides to take second row of cards, which she places in front of her. Becky will start by placing the 17-18 card onto the Lions column. Becky now has a straight sequence of 15, 16, 17, 18. She then claims the Lion star performer. She is also going to place the charioteer onto its column, as well as the shipmaster. She now has a 7 lion, a 10 lion, and a 1 musician. She is unable to place these 3 cards, as all the cards in the respective columns are of a higher value, so she is forced to trash them. She places the trashed cards nearby her player board. Each trashed card will be worth -2 points at the end of the game, even if the card is a double. It's now Cat's turn to play. Cat can, once again, add 1 card to either the top or the bottom row, or she can take one of the rows. Cat notices that there's already a straight sequence, 8, 9, 10, of musicians here, which would allow her to claim the star performer. So she decides to take these cards. However, in order to do this, she has to trash one of the cards in her tableau, the 17, 18, otherwise she's unable to place any of these cards. She decides to do so. She trashes this card, placing it to the side of her playboard, and then places the 8, the 9, and the 10 cards, getting her the musician star performer. And she also places the 15, 16 shipmaster card onto its respective column. Finally, we have Maria's turn. Maria can freely, now that every other player is out of the round, add cards to the row. It is a gamble because it might be that cards that show up do not exactly match what Maria's plan entails. Maria, however, is going to take that chance. She is going to draw and gets a 2 comedian, which she places there. She continues to push her luck and draws a 7 gladiator and finally a 4 lion. Because this is already a full row of 6 cards, she then has to pick the row such that then she can add the cards to her tableau. Other than allowing 1 card of each type to be played onto the Emperor's column, the Emperor's column also allows a player to, strategically, reorganize the cards they have in order to fit other cards as long as they keep following the rules of placement, which is a card has to be of a higher value than the one below it. As long as you're adding cards, you can move the bottommost card of the Emperor's column to the respective column, or you can move the bottommost card of any column into the Emperor's column. So, in this case, Maria is going to place the 7 gladiator onto the gladiator column and move the 12 gladiator to the gladiator's column. She is going to move the 11 lion to the Emperor's column, which allows her to place the 4 lion onto the column. She then moves back the 11 lion back into the column. She moves the 7 musician to the Emperor's column, which allows her to place the 4 musicians she picked. She then moves the 7 musician back into the column, where she can now place the 15, 16 musician. Finally, she places the 2 comedian onto the Emperor's column. She then has to trash the 6 comedian because the Emperor's column can only take 1 card of each type, and there's no way for Maria to actually place the 6th card into the respective column. Once all players have finished getting 1 row of cards, we then return the killer tokens back into the center and start drawing cards, refilling each row with 2 cards. The game ends once one of 2 conditions happens. The first one is that there are not enough cards to refill the market, at the start of a round. If that happens, the round ends immediately and players proceed to final scoring. The other way the game can end is if the deck of cards runs out while players are adding cards to the market. If that is the case, players continue playing as usual, finishing the current round. Afterwards, they pass to final scoring. In final scoring, players will look at that tableau and see how many points they got, both from the cards they have placed in each one of their columns, as well as the star performers they managed to acquire, while also keeping in mind the amount of cards they managed to trash. So, looking at Laura, she gets 10 points from the cards she placed in the Empress column, which is 5. She gets 6 points from the cards in the Gladiators column. She gets 15 points for the cards she placed in the Comedian column, because each double card does count for 2 for the effect of scoring. The same goes for the Musician. She scores 3 points for the 3 cards shown there. She gets 10 points for the Shipmasters, 6 points for the Charioteers, and 1 point for the pair of lions. She also gets 15 points for each one of their star performers. Finally, Laura loses 14 points times 2 for all of the trashed cards she has. And this is how a game of Impresario works. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins the game and is crowned Grand Impresario, its name echoing throughout the ages. In case of a tie, players share the victory. Otherwise, you can play another game of Impresario. It's your choice. I hope this video has been enlightening to you and convinces you to at least give the game a try. Stay cool, stay safe, see you soon.